Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continue today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's the Gold Standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Gold Standard. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn with you, and we are getting ready to talk about it. Legalized theft. Is your money safe? What can you do to protect your family's assets? And Ken Russo, before we get into our big topic for today, we always have to take it back to how it all started.
Yeah, the start of the legalized theft in
Yeah.
1971.
The heist.
Yes.
This is Richard Nixon from back in 1971.
Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
For our best interests.
Yep, absolutely. You believe that?
Well, I mean, if people have been able to benefit from fake money, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Fake money printed out of thin air, right? In 1971, the dollar was taken off of the gold standard, and each dollar was then not backed by any ounces of gold, basically dead. And we all know that this debt is going out of control, and they're printing money out of control, and things are going exponential. It's a fake market, fake money, and that sort of thing. But there has been some appreciation in stocks because of fake money, and there's been appreciation in real estate because of fake money. And we've had 30 and 40 years of whether you're lucky or maybe you're inherited some money or maybe you're a great trader or maybe you're a great investor, some people have benefited, and the central bankers and the politicians, they've benefited a lot from this system. Maybe you can protect some of it, because the question is, where are we headed?
Right. And I know this because I've been hanging out with you now, well, for several years we've been friends, but doing this radio program, we've been hanging out for a while. And one thing I can tell you for sure is if that fake money wasn't earning people money, the global elites money, the wealthy, if that fake money wasn't earning somebody money, it wouldn't be around. But the question is, what does the little guy do? What do we do in the middle class, right, to protect ourselves? How do we ensure our investments? And the answer has been gold and silver, precious metals. Midas Gold Group, a great place to go if you have questions about this. 855-322-4653 is the number. We'll be giving it out throughout the program today. You can call and talk to these great guys. Ken answers the phone.
Absolutely no obligation.
Yeah,
call in.
Right, no obligation.
Yes.
Call now.
Yes. I don't know why people are not taking this more seriously, Jen. Really, it's awfully quiet, and banks were failing in March, and stock market, people are just piling money into Apple and Microsoft and like 7 names. It's going to be too late when people start to realize, wow, this really is another bubble. This really is unstable. Why the heck didn't I do anything about it? Well, now's the time. And
what's great is that it is not fake money. It's real. It is something real that you can hold, and you can do that in your safe. 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD. That's the number to call from anywhere in the country, 855-322-GOLD. Now, let's talk about, okay, so we heard from Richard Nixon. We know 1971 was that pivotal moment when the dollar was no longer backed by a gold counterpart, which created some interesting scenarios. We've seen it now most recently, interest rates being raised because inflation was very high. Where do you see us? I know you said it's been a quiet summer, but Ken, it seems like this is just maybe the calm before the storm.
Yeah, I mean, I would just really urge people, Jen, to consider where we're at. I mean, how many tens of trillions of dollars were printed out of thin air since even 2020? when we had the very convenient excuse of a pandemic.
Right.
And we all know what that was all about. It was a convenient reason to print a lot of money, experiment on control, restrictions, let's see what we can get through and force. Let's see what kind of agendas that we could propose. But that even weakened our system even more because it's a system, well, first of all, gold and silver are the only form of real money in the Constitution.
Right.
There's no mention of fiat money. Nobody talks about all of the fiat currencies throughout time that have failed. They've all failed. Any of them that have been based on debt, money printing, the politicians and the bankers get greedy. They take it out of control. Superpowers become, drowned in debt. And then what happens to the money is they start debasing and devaluing the money. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the second segment when we talk about the 7 stages of empire.
Yeah.
But that's where we're today. So we're in a system where the dollar's breaking down. I mean, I can speak frankly.
Please.
The dollar in the financial system is dying.
And why do you say that?
Well, the security of our money is questioned right now because we're obviously headed towards a monitored system where the government wants to know everything that we do, all of our transactions. That's inevitably where we're headed. They can control the system much easier that way.
Yeah.
Second of all, fiat currencies all over the world. I read an article today. There's 3.3 billion people that live in areas where the financing of the debt costs more than what the countries are putting into healthcare and education.
So they're paying more for their debt than the stuff that really is going to make people flourish.
Even here in the United States, we're almost at $1 trillion a year to finance our debt.
Wow.
And that's only what they're saying is our debt of $32 trillion some odd dollars. We all know it's much more than that.
And our little brains, we can't understand how many zeros that really is, what that really means. We are in a place where we're never going to be able, we laugh about balanced budgets when it comes to presidential elections and everybody says, oh, we'll do it. But is it even possible?
No, it's not.
No way.
I mean, let me ask you. Where does the money come for even to pay the interest rate on the debt?
We're just either borrowing or we're printing. That's what we
right.
do.
Yeah, so it's a nice little game that the government, the banks, and the Fed have. They all just kind of make IOUs and they lend them back to one another. They create digits out of thin air, and this is the basis of our financial system. And I would encourage every single person right now, every single American, anybody who's listening to this program right now, would you keep all of your money in that type of fake system that's totally supported by fake money that's printed out of thin air? I think any reasonable person would say no. Producer Mike here would say no.
He would.
I would Star say no. Jen Horn would say no.
Absolutely.
So why isn't everybody out there questioning what's going on here? Who's really benefiting? And you said a little while ago, it's going to be the little guy, the middle-class person that's really going to take it when it comes to inflation, take it when it comes to loss of purchasing power with our dollar. We all know the stock market, although we're not giving financial advice. We all know that's just another bubble that's waiting to burst. So what's going to happen? Most people, unfortunately, over the next 5 or 10 years, are going to lose most of their assets when we do crash.
And you don't want to be one of those people who are sitting around scratching your head going, what happened? I had a chance to take care of myself, to take care of my family.
I knew this was going to happen, but unfortunately, my ship went down too. Why would you say that?
Think about it. I mean, how much of our life is spent working so that we can create something for ourselves and for our family? And why would you put that money, that wealth at risk when you can have gold and silver that backs it up, precious metals, a great investment to check into because it actually is something you can hold on to at home and it's private. So you don't have that government oversight, tracking your every move. 855-322-GOLD. That's the number to call. 855-322-GOLD from Midas Gold Group. Patriots there, America First Patriots, and veteran-owned.
People who are on Mars, Planet Biden, they're going after the bad orange man again, huh?
Kryptonite.
The bad orange man, now January, boy. They're going to do whatever it takes to tear him down.
It makes you wonder why they don't want him to be president so badly. I guess that's a conversation for another day.
Well, he's a disruptor. But, the bottom line is what's going on with our monetary system. It's just creating a bigger divide between the elite and wealthy who want to control everything and everybody else. And it's stripping away our freedoms. It's stripping away our wealth. And the last thing we want to do is to see it all disappear.
That's it.
So
you want to hold on to something.
Yeah. Get something out of the bank while you can. Get something out of the stock market while you can. What about people that have worked for 20 or 30 years and they've saved up a lot of money in a retirement account?
Yeah.
Most people are just willing to see that all disappear because the government made a mistake. That's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. And look at who's in the White House right now. The guy is dozing off. He's looking at note cards. This is somebody that you may not want to trust with your financial future.
Good-looking Ice Cream Joe.
That's right. I know, with those aviator shades.
With Kamala, they're doing a tremendous job.
855-322-GOLD. That's a number to call. Let's talk about the Fed for a second, because you have mentioned this before in this hour. You talked about the Fed.
The Fed.
Tell us about the Fed, because I think when people hear it, we think it's the federal government, but it is not.
No, it's not. It's not federal at all. It's owned by banks, basically. It has shareholders. And it's running this central banking system where they feel they can control what's going on by manipulating interest rates and manipulating monetary fiscal policy. They're more than happy to print money out of thin air and lend it to the government and also charge interest on it. More than happy. But the bottom line is that type of a system, Jen, it's inevitably going to end badly. It's inevitably going to produce money that's going to continue to dwindle in purchasing power. It's our money's going to earn less and less and less and buy less and less. So unfortunately, we need to end the Fed. But in the meantime, before all of this could happen, before we get a new monetary system someday, before it's all cleaned up, it's going to have to get real ugly first. So you don't lose it all while that happens. Put some of your money into gold. Put some of your IRAs into gold. It'll at least be there when you need it.
Yeah, this is the point, that you want something that you can hold on to. Gold, silver, precious metals, it's a private transaction. So if you don't want that government oversight in your life, this is something great. You can hold on to it. Gold and precious metals tends to hold its value over time. Historically, this is something you've heard about for decades and decades and hundreds and thousands of years.
Nobody's coming to your rescue, Jen. You know, when it comes to your money, you got to do it yourself. I mean, this is a wake-up call to people. Protect what you can.
Personal responsibility over your finances, your financial future, your retirement, your family's future. 855-322-GOLD. Call Midas Gold Group or MidasGoldGroup.com. You can check them out online. MidasGoldGroup.com or 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. More on the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: central bank digital currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications, the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on the Gold Standard. You can create your own Gold Standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Welcome back to the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn. Happy to be with you talking about our financial situation. It is, well, things are just pretty risky right now. Bubbles, they may burst. We don't know exactly when, but my goodness, Ken, when you have our elected officials, if you have I like to call him Chairman Joe. When you have Chairman Joe at the controls, I mean, what could really go wrong? This is the guy making decisions over your finances.
Yeah, decades of clowns.
Well, we're going to win and we're going to help. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean. We have plans to build in Angola, one of the largest solar plants in the world. I can go on, but I'm not. I'm going off script. I'm going to get in trouble.
He always gets in trouble when he goes off script.
Angola.
He's at least
I'm
self-aware.
glad the people in Arizona and Texas that are having a border issue and stuff, we're talking about Angola.
Yeah, we've got a solar farm in Angola, which is going to save the world. And of course, that railroad that's going to just be built across the ocean.
Yeah, Trans-Ocean Railroad.
That's pretty incredible. Now, you think you think there's any problem at all with the financial system when Joe Biden is in charge? I don't.
Well, there's just a problem with the system that would say, hey, you're the chief.
I know.
You're the chief, and, if there's any problem, we can just spend and print.
The sad thing is that we make fun.
Right.
But you realize that he is part of the problem. He is part of this global world order of leaders who are willing to enrich themselves while the rest of us suffer. I mean, it really is. It is funny to laugh at his misgivings and his stumbles, but then you have to realize he's made a good life for his family while creating policy and a financial situation for us that is not going to allow us to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a disgraceful situation, and the politicians, between greed and corruption and the central bankers, it's very upsetting to know that our money, our livelihoods, our children and our grandchildren's futures basically lays in these people's hands to make the right decisions. And when it comes to money, now we all know there's lots going on. We're very upset by the way this country is headed and our leadership, obviously. But we're very concerned about the value of our money, and we're very concerned about the privacy issue of what's going on. This country is not being run like the United States of America should be run. It's the greatest country of the world. That's why everybody wants to come here. Can you blame them?
No.
And we're treating our system and we're abusing it, and it's because of corruption and greed. How much money? I mean, wires are just flying all over the place. Other countries, this agenda, that agenda. Let's get down to basics. And when it comes to money, the basic foundation is not stocks. It's not annuities. It's not mutual funds. It's not, all these crazy fiat paper terms that is enriching the banking system. It's gold. That's what it is. It's amazing that the same gold that was 5,000 years ago or whatever in Lydia and ancient Egypt still exists in some form, like this real piece of gold. Yeah.
I love when you do show and tell with us.
And for people who aren't watching, they can listen. See?
That's solid. That's not paper.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's a kangaroo.
Yeah,
that is Australian, right?
Yeah, it's now Australia. That's another conversation for another day. How about what an embarrassing place, and their mandates, especially during COVID.
COVID was not their best time. That's for sure.
No, and but they make a nice coin. The Perth Mint makes nice gold, and it's 24 karat gold coin. It's called a bullion coin in BU, brilliant uncirculated condition. 4 nines, which is the definition of 24 karat gold. And for those people who maybe the light bulb went off and said, hey, I don't really trust all of my money at the bank. And this stock market stuff, I'm not really sure what this is. It's kind of casino-like. And I'm really scared about these quadrillions of dollars that are wrapped up in these derivatives. And nobody really understands what's really going to go on. And the whole financial system may collapse someday. What could I do? Well, what you can do is take some of those funds and you can put it into a 1 ounce gold coin like this Australian gold kangaroo.
Which is beautiful, by the way.
It is. And it typically has maintained its value. And in my opinion, if things really do play out the way I think they will, our opinion, of course, and things really fall apart and get ugly, gold could be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 an ounce when this is all said and done.
That's just it. It holds its value and might maintain, or might actually increase in value quite a lot if the system does really fail, which is what a lot of people, not just you, Ken, a lot of people are thinking this could be the possibility.
Yeah, and what's scary, Jen, is, I mean, you're a radio host, superstar, now going to be television.
Yeah.
And if I said to you, the system's going to collapse and things are going to get real bad, what's going to be our answer? What would you say?
I'd say get gold and get guns.
And what would you say the government's answer is going to be to that?
Print money and borrow money.
There you go. We're going to print more. We're going to spend more until we can't anymore. We're going to print and spend so much until the whole system caves in, and we're going to do it till the cows come home.
I liked my get guns, get gold.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty good,
Gold
actually.
God's a gold God and guns. Yeah, let's do it. I mean,
the 3 Gs. Now, last week, and actually the week before, the last few weeks on the program, we've been talking about the stages of empire.
Yes.
And I don't want to run out of time today to do that because I think it's important about where we actually are. You want to run through that and kind of take us through where you think we might be?
Yeah, and credit Mike Maloney, one of the OGs when it comes to gold. He's been doing this for a while, and he talks about 7 stages
Is he an
of
OG
empire.
Goldie?
Yeah,
Okay.
an OG Goldie, and really respected guy. Not a snake oil salesman. A real good guy. He's got good videos and stuff, and it's tremendous that he's educating people on gold. But he talks about sound money, which we had, layers of public works, which obviously built this country, massive military, and it's almost as if we protect our dollar and our financial system because we put so much into the military, almost $1 trillion a year. And then there's war. And then the last 2 stages of empire, currency debasement, and then people ultimately lose faith in their currency. And that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
It's inevitable that we debase our currency more through deficit spending, which we're doing. We have no choice. The system's addicted to debt. And it's inevitable that people, once they see their dollar buy less and less and less and less, they lose faith in it. People start pulling money out of the bank, out of the stock market, and they start rushing into things like gold. You want to do that before you can.
And you can't always believe what you hear in the news media because this week, for instance, there was a lot of crowing going on about Bidenomics and the success of Bidenomics.
Yeah.
We heard about how inflation has dropped down so far and Biden is just an inflation killer. Well, Biden also increased inflation up to 9%. It's down to around 3% now. But what they're taking into account, Ken, which I learned from a friend of mine, Stephen Moore, who's a financial expert as well, he said that this number comes from everything. It factors in cars and yachts and all kinds of things. People are still feeling the heat on the everyday stuff is the point. The prices at the grocery store, all of the everyday living expenses, you're still really feeling the heat of inflation, no matter what you might read in the newspaper.
Yeah, and another reason why is the energy costs are down because our administration drained our reserves. We're at a 40-year low when it comes to reserves. So they're going to have to replenish those at probably a much higher price, another bad move. They closed the Keystone Pipeline as soon as they took office back in the beginning of 2021. A lot of bad decisions. The numbers are totally manipulated. You can't believe any of these numbers. Why anybody would be trading off of these numbers, I have no idea. But you want to know what? When it comes down to it, it doesn't even matter. What matters
More
is
fake, right?
Yeah, it's just more fake. We can't trust what's going on. And when you can't trust your money and you can't trust the banking system and you can't trust Wall Street to do what's right, you can trust gold.
Yeah.
So create your own gold vault. Create your own situation where you have a stockpile of your money that you could at least get to. Control your own situation. Yep. Don't put your hands, your fate in the hands of these people because they don't have our best interests in mind.
Nope.
They have their best interests in mind. We all know how this is going to end, and it's not going to end good for people out there speculating too much.
Anybody who's running the Fed, anybody who's running nations, they're looking out for themselves.
Yeah, the whole world.
That's right. They're not looking out for you. So what do? Who do you trust? Do you trust the guy who's building railroads across oceans, or do you trust yourself to come up with a good strategy for your finances? If you're confused, if you need help plotting out a plan, call our friends. Midas Gold Group, incredible. Ken Russo is there. You can talk to him directly. You can talk to anybody on staff. This is not a call center. These are real people with real advice. 855-322-4653. That's a number to call. 855-322. It spells out gold if people still do that, which is kind of fun. Or you can go online, MidasGoldGroup.com. MidasGoldGroup.com or 855-322-4653. Each week we sit here, I learn so much more. And the question is, do you want to leave your future up to someone else?
Yeah, I mean, the system is going to reset, Jen. Our money is going to reset, and then who knows what we're going to be left with, what it's going to be worth.
Right.
You can do something about that today.
Absolutely. Do not wait. Call right now. 855-322-GOLD. 855-322-4653. 855-322-4653. Call from anywhere in the country or check out the website, MidasGoldGroup.com. Always a great time with you. Thanks for joining us.
Fast.
It's the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.